in business and industry, and we're going to have live comments on some of the developing um, stories in the business world. We're going to start a story from the KwaZulu Natal Research Institute, the synergy with IBM Research in tuberculosis and HIV in South Africa.
Durban, South Africa. On World Tuberculosis Day, IBM, NYSC, IBM, and the KwaZulu-Natal Research Institute for Tuberculosis and HIV, CRIC, have announced plans to research new treatment approaches for fight tuberculosis, TB in South Africa. IBM's big IBM's big data analytic technologies will be put to work on bacterial genetics and drug susceptibility tests to better understand the genomic mechanisms that cause resistance to antibiotics. The ultimate goal is to find new treatments and diagnostic approaches to fight TB. The scale of the TB problem in southern Africa is largely a result of HIV infection, lack of integration between HIV and TB treatments, and historic challenges in healthcare delivery. Currently, South Africa has the world's third highest burden of TB, with the province of KwaZulu-Natal being the most affected by both drug susceptible and drug resistant tuberculosis. Over 100,000 cases of TB are reported every year from this province alone, and over 60% are also infected with HIV. The KwaZulu-Natal Research Institute for Tuberculosis and HIV, CRIC, which is based at the University of KwaZulu-Natal's Nelson R. Mandela School of Medicine, is an independent research institute established in 2009 to conduct basic science research into TB and HIV and translate the scientific findings into new tools to control these deadly diseases. The Institute's work has boosted the TB and HIV research capabilities of scientists in South Africa. The work with IBM involving its big data and deep data analytics technology will enable CRIC to understand bacterial genomes from drug-resistant strains of M. tuberculosis, the bacteria that causes TB.
Now, isn't it so interesting that um, over 100 cases of TB in this KwaZulu area of South Africa, and 60%, that is approximately 60,000 of these same are infected with tuberculosis also experience HIV. Now, this figure is really outstanding, but it's a great collaboration that we see taking place now between IBM. Here we see coming together to tackle such a great need in society. Now, the big point here is the synergy between IBM and KwaZulu Natal Research Institute. It will take a lot of such collaboration to deal with medical situations in very remote places that continue. The problem of HIV looks a little bit suppressed in advanced nations because of, to note that tuberculosis, which is supposed to have been in so much, is still very much in parts of the world. It would take a lot of to overcome this. Anybody has a comment on that? Tuberculosis, HIV. Let's move on to the next story. Let's move on to the next story on Merrill Lynch.
Merrill Lynch, Merrill School, base wealth management, and is a teaming up with France EDHEC Business School to develop new research on risk allocation and goals-based investing, the organizations announced today. The initiative involves the pursuit of fundamental research on risk allocation and goals-based wealth management through a collaboration between Merrill Lynch's Investment Management and Guidance Group and the EDHEC Risk Institute. The research project is to deliver a mathematically rigorous approach to investing for goals such as capital preservation, retirement income, maintenance of minimum wealth levels, and preferences regarding risk and liquidity, according to professional Lionel Mattellini, scientific director of EDHEC Risk Institute, who will lead its participation in the partnership.
This is a story because it's also a partnership between a finance corporation, Merrill Lynch Wealth Management, and France EdHec Business School. Now, the purpose of these collaborations is to set up a research to understand how to better analyze risk. In the last show, we spoke of how the Australian Central Bank have come to realize that in order to avoid the economic recession that we are coming out of, it's important for us to have a deeper understanding into risk management. Now, most of the time, financial analysts and financial planners are generally known to pick up portfolios or to build a portfolio that instantly speaks to profit and high yielding investments. And most times, capital is directed not necessarily considering risk factors, but rather profitability and high yielding investment securities, and has led a lot of losses to people who entrusted their portfolios to financial analysts and wealth asset managers. So this is particularly very interesting, thinking of the goal of collaboration between Merrill Lynch and EdHec, and for the goals preservation, retirement income, minimum wealth levels, and preferences regarding risk and liquidity. Now, this kind of research is going to give tools to the hands of people who entrust their resources, their capital, to wealth managers, so they can better understand their choices in terms of risk levels and to diversify their portfolios. So I think this is going to be of great benefit, basically, to those who entrust their resources to wealth management. And all of us, at some point or the other, will want to have an investment, and we will want more, not just the information of the wealth managers, but to understand the risks involved in the various investments that we combine, assemble into our portfolio. I think we can go on to the next story, or if someone you have a comment on that, Carol. Give her the microphone so she can probably.
If I may, I would just like to comment briefly on the one prior. The one before with
KwaZulu.
Zulu. It sorry, it's significant that Africa has been chosen to do the research because many times we have HIV to a large extent there, and a lot of people do suffer in Africa and in the third world countries, and medications are high. And for Africa to, for them to combine, two big forces to combine to do the research there, it will impact us greatly,
It's
because
laudable.
the third world countries like Jamaica, where I come from, people with HIV, TB or so, many times they don't have the money to pay for, the medications, or when research comes out, they are least affected. They'll have to come to England or America for help if they have money. Those who don't die.
Yeah, that's a good point there. That you look at two extremes, a situation in South Africa, and as the details of this news item talks about the fact that this is the part of the world that has the highest rate of tuberculosis. And so for them, the experience, for them, they are so close to the problem. And then this synergy with IBM, with all the technological resource coming in to be able to use data to help research and to come out with probably machines and technology so that and we know that data is so critical in research and development of medication and so on. So this partnership is the kind of partnership that that most of the research institutions and institutions across the world who are really very close to specific problems can sponsor or initiate synergies with most of the very well corporations across the world. And that way, I believe that we'll be able to tackle a lot of issues across the world very effectively. Anybody has a comment on that before we move on to the next story? That's Marlene. Okay.
A third world country. There are medical personnel here in the United States that don't even understand fully when someone has to do the tuberculin skin test and it comes up positive, what are the necessary steps to take? Because sometimes when the person is positive, they figure that the person has been in contact with someone with the active disease, not knowing that we have been privileged for some reason to have been inoculated against the actual disease. So clean test as a precept, the first step to have the infection, it come up negative, positive. But on the other hand, there are some people who can convert from having been positive to be negative. That's nowhere integrate more what you call it a more in depth research needs to be to see why this person converts. But prior to that, that person who does react positively and does so repeatedly in the time frame given to retest is a safe person, because that person is not actively presenting the disease then.
So that's good. That's good insight into some of cases that come up. Some people are inoculated, and when you are inoculated, actually of the virus is put in your system so that you can be resistant to the disease. Now, it's common knowledge that sometimes even when people travel from here to other parts of the world, they become susceptible to a lot of diseases that when they come back here, it's so severe. The manifestation is severe when they are here, and sometimes doctors are at a loss as to how to deal with that, because there is so much a disparity in data as to how diseases are handled in certain parts of the world and here. So that kind of a synergy is really going to be beneficial to the health industry. And across the board, with all these stories, we see how synergy. Another story is another story on cybernet.com where Halliburton is in the oil industry, oil development, has partnered with Gubklin University in Russia to explore non-traditional oil products, new products, to delve into new areas of exploration. Now, such a partnership is going to help the oil industry a lot. It's going to help from various perspectives. Now, the students of this Russian university are going to be exposed to first-hand developments and discoveries in the oil and gas industry. But not just that, it prepares them for the marketplace. They don't go as novices, naive of current developments. So such between a company like Halliburton, which is known to be very active and prominent in the oil and gas industry, with an institution that is focused on research in oil and gas, we realize that they will produce graduates who are very familiar with the future of the industry, as opposed to the situation where students graduate from school. And so it puts forefront, and at the same time, it also allows resources to be made available. Most times schools don't have the kind of resources to do in-depth research, so that it's usually the R&D, research and development departments of corporations that do those in-depth research because they can afford it. But where there is synergy, and so this becomes a way that I believe that governments should set up that framework, local governments, where local institutions having access to raw materials, natural resources, can bring in industry giants to partner, so that the research is not done only by the corporations who can afford it, and they use that information to advance their products and services, but the students who are going to ultimately work for these industries understand that what is being developed now, what is being discovered right now, is a part of their curriculum, so that it's a win-win situation. And it also opens the door for industrialization in areas where there's so much natural resources endowed in a community, and yet poverty abounds. So for a lot of communities in third world countries, this is practically to bring resources in. Let's go to the on Viacom. No, Viacom. I think we dealt with the story.
I have a question for Marilyn.
You have a question on Merrill Lynch. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. My concern for Merrill Lynch is a partnership with Bank of and recently they said that
actually America and Merrill Lynch are the same right now.
Are the same right now.
Right now, okay.
With the name the Federal Bank of America, with the name that's about to change, okay, to Federal Bank of New York. My concern is there a risk factor for consumers acquiring through Bank of America to operate as wealth managers to handle consumers' investment? Will there be a risk factor with the changing over of names and all of that?
Well, they are already operating in framework. It will still continue the same. It's just nomenclature. Because what happens with that, in a big corporation, what they do is that they have departments. So Merrill Lynch would become a division of that same corporation. So nothing. You wanted to say something, Molly?
Yeah, on the same topic with Merrill and their EdHec business school. It says in part of the article that they have, I'm trying to locate that. They say that they have done well with their affluent affluent clientele. What are they not opening themselves to help someone who may have come into some money so they too can improve on their status?
Um, the the real investment and trusting your resources to a wealth management company is that you you have to think of your level, and you also have to think of the direction of the company that and their let me use the word, what they are inclined to. There are some companies who just cater for very huge portfolios, like a company like Goldman Sachs. They're known to deal with huge assets and so on. So for you, an individual with little resources, you're better to a private, a smaller that has your interest at heart. I mean, it doesn't mean that big companies like Merrill Lynch and Goldman Sachs don't have the interest of small clientele at heart. But think about it. If I have 10 clients and 8 of them billions, and your assets are just in the thousands, I won't do you much good, because I want to take care of my large clients. You want to have a wealth management company that understands the needs of a small investor. Understands the needs of a small investor. You can't tell them focus their resources. Okay. When they sit at board meeting, they decide what their priorities are, because they are in business to make money. All the training they do, all the advices, and all the strategies that they work into their systems is geared towards the greater clientele. If as a wealth manager I have 10 clients who are small businesses, I think hard. And I look and assemble securities that will help them grow their assets. But if my clientele are 80% or 90% big time, I won't allocate much time into research into the kind of investment securities that helps a small company. But let's look at the Viacom story and we move forward with that.
New York Viacom Inc. that by VIA and VA and Tumblr today announced an exclusive partnership to deliver co-brand content campaign during 2014 upfront season for advertisers on Tumblr. The campaigns will combine Tumblr's suite of ad products with custom content developed for the Tumblr platform by Viacom. The content will connect to the most popular shows and events across Viacom's portfolio. MTV, VH1, CMT, Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, TV Land, Spike, and more. Viacom is the first television programmer to strike an advertising partnership with Tumblr and will be the only network group to offer co-branded campaigns to partners worldwide throughout the 2014 upfront. The partnership will launch as early as the 2014 MTV Movie Awards, before, during, and after which MTV will post images, videos, animated GIFs, and other interactive content to Tumblr that connects to the show. The content will showcase everything from movie awards, categories, presenters, nominees, and winners to its most over-the-top and buzzworthy moments and performances. The 2014 Movie Awards will air live on Sunday, April 13, 2014 at 9 HC on MTV.
I see this the synergy, this syndication between Viacom and Tumblr as one of the great synergies will will really help both companies. But the fundamental principle here is that the partners in a synergistic relationship must be sincere in their goals. And when I read the story, I find out that Tumblr was able to read into Viacom's portfolio and see the forward thoughts, see the mindset of Viacom, their plans, and how they intend to project into the future, and put together a a proposal that really caught the interest of Viacom. And today we see the fruit of this relationship that will allow Viacom to stream most of their popular shows on a social network. And knowing that today most people are are staying long on the internet, Viacom to stream a lot through cable, through traditional television, but now this becomes a new go on your social network and you're able to see live shows. And the first image of the MTV Awards is going to be made available on Tumblr. So this is an interesting partnership that, like I said, is forward-looking. You're looking at the trends. You're looking at how almost everyone has a mobile device. Now, most of the time, you find out that you are locked out of live shows on your mobile device, computer. You have to subscribe to cable. But now Tumblr, looking forward, looking at the trends of the industry, everyone is having a mobile device, a computer, was able to project into the future of the industry and strike such a deal with Viacom. Anybody has thoughts? But looking at such synergies, and the industry live show is for entrepreneurs, authors, and for startups. That's how entrepreneurs should think. Now, if you look at most of the mergers and acquisitions that have taken place within the last 2, 3, 4 years, you find startups coming up with great products. And because those great products represent the future, big corporations come in to acquire them, like Facebook acquiring Instagram, like one of the recent acquisitions that I can't put my finger on, but the one that deals with Omnicom partnering with a company in Brazil, Boom, or yes, I think the name is, but this company in Brazil has been able to develop, what's the name? Mood, sorry. This company in Brazil has been able to develop their product to the extent that a big corporation like Omnicom recognizes Mood is just a 7-year company. They just have, I think, about 95 employees. But they've been able to attract, big capital, big money, and because they develop their product to a very high level. So it doesn't really matter how big you are, how small you are. If you can focus on developing your product to meet with future trends, if you can project into future trends, you position yourself where major corporations, global corporations can come in your little corner, partner with you, and platform. Let's look at .com. Have we dealt with the Conway story yet?
No, we haven't.
Okay, let's quickly.
Justice Department files lawsuit against Freight Inc. to enforce reemployment rights of service member. The Department of Justice filed a lawsuit today against Conway Freight Inc., alleging that the company violated the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act by failing to promptly reassign Naval Reservist Dale Brown to his former position as a driver with appropriate seniority once he notified the company that he had fully recovered from a temporary service-related medical disability. According to the complaint filed in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, Brown began working for Conway on November 9, 1987 as a driver sales representative. In 2006, Brown was working at Conway's Rock Island, Illinois facility when he deployed for active duty. While in Iraq, Brown suffered a serious shoulder injury in a truck accident during a night mission and returned to Conway in 2009 following an honorable discharge. Conway placed him in a lower paying position due to medical restrictions that prevented him from returning to DSR position. By 2012, Brown had made a full recovery and notified the company that he was able to resume work at DSR without medical restrictions. Conway refused to return Brown to DSR position and instead made him apply for open positions as they became available. Months later, Brown was eventually hired as a DSR, but treated him as a new employee with no seniority to bid on assignments. As a result, Brown effectively received a 40% reduction in pay compared to what he was earning as a DSR prior to his military leave. He also no longer has a regular work schedule because his seniority was not restored upon reinstatement, and he must call in each day to see if and how long he will work on a given day.
This is a very real situation. You know, corporate America continue to treat human beings just as tools of productivity and not respect the value of human beings and to consider them as human capital. And so long as this practice continues to go on unchecked, people lose their sense of self-worth. Imagine this guy goes to serve the country and does his best, gets hurt. He's been working for the company at a certain level. When he comes back, fine, he knows he can't serve in that capacity, so he accepts a junior position. But when he's healed and when he's okay, he's cured, he asks to be restored, and they give him the only option of applying for jobs like an outsider. I mean, that's not fair. And it's a good thing the Justice Department is taking on such causes. And I mean, if heavy fines are imposed on corporations, I think it would diminish the practice. Anybody has a take on that? All right, let's finish the last story on Realtor.com, their outlook for 2014.
Realtor.com for 2014 house report. February gains point to seller optimism. Jose, California, Realtor.com, a leader in online real estate operated by Move Inc., NASDAQ Move, today released its National Housing Trend Report, February 2014. As prices continue to rise, more sellers are putting their homes on the market than this time last year. A sign of confidence in gains sustained through the winter and an indication of a strong early beginning to the spring home buying season. Data from Realtor.com reveals the number of properties for sale in February rose to 10.1% above February 2013 levels to 1,744,032 units. The median list price of $199,000 increased to 7.6% compared to the same month last year, and the median age of inventory increased 6.5% above year ago figures to 114 days. Overall, these figures indicate a continued reinforcement of steady gains and market stabilization that we've been watching since last. Oh boy. Excuse me, the computer moved. Computer moved just a.
All right, let's go ahead with the story.
Okay, overall these figures,
you got it now. Okay,
overall these figures indicate a continued reinforcement of steady gains and market stabilization that we've been watching since last summer, said Steve Berkowitz, CEO of Move. Seller confidence is the factor to watch as we head into the spring home buying season. And these are very encouraging indicators. Not only are more homes coming onto the market, but typically we don't see a rise in asking prices. These early into the year, this is the market these sellers have been waiting for.
Interesting. Ed-Marie Fletcher, you are practicing real estate professional. Give us your take on this story.
Increase in price.
You can okay.
Yes, the increase in price, from last year, is a lot more buyers out, and because of the winter we had, everything was slowed down. So now that change, the spring is in the air, everybody's coming out looking, and homeowners are increasing their price from last year. All inventory is being increased in price because there's, they recognize, that there's more buyers out there. And when there is, more buyers and the inventory is low, then sellers get happy. It's a demand. It's an increase in price. It is true.
Excellent, excellent. So it's time to go out there and put your homes on the market. And since the optimism is high and there are a lot of buyers out there looking to possess new real estate, price is good, there is demand, there is supply. It's a good time to do real estate business. Now, I saw an interesting report from Willows.com, their research on what people will be doing right now that it's spring. They say that the trend is for people to develop more cabinet space, more storage space. During winter, you put out all your big coats and jackets, but in spring, you want to put these away. So the trend is for a lot of remodeling that creates more space in the homes. I think that's good for the construction industry and for those who are into carpentry and so on and so forth. It's been an honor on the show today, and with me on the show were entrepreneurs and protege of mine, and we want to say thank you for joining us in today's show. The next show comes up on Thursday, 12 noon, and you can join us on Cibernet.com or go on to YouTube or Google Hangouts, and we could probably feature you based on your comments. So all are welcome to join the Industry Live Show, Entrepreneurs, Authors, where we strategize and we collaborate and think about strategies of corporate America and directions of the economy, and as well as what government departments and various industries and the trends and so on and so forth. So thank you for joining us today in the show. See you on Thursday, 12 noon. Have a wonderful day.